Hello, this is Charting Man Dan of TheChartGuys, where we teach the little guy and girl how to utilize charts to manage their own trades and investments. What do I mean by the little guy and girl? Well, we just had two directives signed halting the implementation of a rule that requires financial advisors to act in the best interests of their client. Let that sink in a little bit. The big wigs on Wall Street can play with your retirement and hard-earned money without your best interests at heart. We currently have hundreds of members taking charge of their financial future, and we would love for you to come check out a free week with no credit card required to see if our services would be beneficial on your path to financial independence as well. What we offer, we have a separate course of over 5 hours in length on when to enter and exit positions. And in terms of what we do daily, we have nightly videos, key levels updated each morning before the bell, 2.5 hours of live daily webcam coverage in the morning and in the afternoon, and over 7 hours of educational videos. All of these links can be found in the description of this video. Come check us out. Thanks for watching. Let's get on to the technical analysis. Checking in on cryptocurrencies here, we'll look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, and Litecoin. So starting with Bitcoin here, and I'm comparing BTC USD. All of these are based off the US dollar. So BTC USD, we see that the pullbacks on Bitcoin very commonly are a lot more magnified than the moves to the upside. And that's why it's important to be active. If you are trading and more shorter term, you need to be active in terms of watching when the tide shifts, because you can always be reloading and getting more share or getting more Bitcoin on that buying the dip scenario. But if you're long term, you're really not too concerned about it. But what you can see is very clearly the higher low, higher high, stair stepping, slow and steady to the upside. And then the first bearish day where it really sets in, we take out a week of bullish action to the upside. So we are starting to pull back now on Bitcoin, and this is as anticipated, because on the weekly time frame we can see the pattern that more likely than not always forms on many time frames, where we have what I call the equilibrium pattern, which is after a breakout or a breakdown. So we have the breakout, we have our low of the pullback hitting, we have our bounce attempt, and now it looks like our high is hit as we have a weekly bearish reversal candlestick forming, and that high is 1229. So we'll be anticipating that to be our lower high. We will now look to pull back and form a higher low compared to 891.33. So that could pull back to 1100, it could pull back to 1000. We'll have to be keeping an eye on the daily trend now, but the equilibrium pattern, which is very common, dictates that we will see a lower high, higher low tightening range as we reach an equilibrium after all of that volatility from a month ago. So checking in on the daily time frame, what are we going to be watching for? We have key supports to be keeping an eye on. Every time we form a base of support on the way up, that's a level to be keeping an eye on. So 1111 down here is a support. We can put a line right there. We've got a next support. I'd be looking at the low of this red candle consolidation, 1066, and then down here, the low of consolidation, 1008. Those are the three level of supports I would be watching. We're also keeping an eye on volume. We have a bit of bear volume here, and actually we have a shorter term support to be watching of 1141 and 1142, which have held the low the past 2 days. Our resistance is very clear at the high of this bounce of 1229, so that's the channel we're currently trading in, anticipating that we are likely to see a bit more pullback, keeping an eye on the MACD cross here. If we get a bearish MACD cross, that will indicate momentum is shifting as well. So looking for normal, healthy consolidation, as the bulls have been in control for the past 3-4 weeks at this point with a very strong recovery. So we'll be looking for lower highs and lower lows to now be established and a new higher low on the weekly time frame, but it's going to take a while to be confident that that new higher low has formed, because we will need to see a bullish reversal candlestick on the weekly time frame, ideally with a long lower wick showing the bulls buying the dip off of a new area of support. So that's what we've got for Bitcoin. Checking in on ETH, this is the daily time frame, and this is very normal, healthy consolidation following a breakout. So we had a huge move to the upside, big gains to be had there, and here was our equilibrium pattern where we had our high, the low of consolidation, lower high, just barely a higher low, and then that broke. So that was a bearish break, letting us know further consolidation was coming. And if I were a short-term trader here, I would have exited when 46.55 broke, the low of this consolidation. And then we dropped all the way down to 41.05, over a 10% drop to the downside, indicated by the loss of the low of consolidation. So that then formed lower highs and lower lows. So now we're seeing the bulls show up again. And it was, again, another mini equilibrium pattern. You see them everywhere, where we had our low of the pullback, high of the bounce attempt, higher low, lower high, higher low, very, very tight range, and a clear bull break. And when we form these equilibrium patterns, they are very commonly accompanied by declining volume. And here's a good example here where we just saw that break. constant declining volume, and the break occurred with a spike in volume. So whenever I'm looking for an equilibrium pattern to break, I will always be watching the volume and looking for the indication that the break is coming by high volume. So the bulls did see a nice bull move to the upside, but we are now at a bearish day with a close at the low. So where we stand from here is the levels to be watching is the high of this bounce attempt at this point, which was 51.50, and our low of the recent consolidation, which was down at 41.05. That is the channel to be watching. And in terms of getting a different perspective, we look at the weekly chart to zoom out, and we do still have an equilibrium pattern on the weekly. We have our high after the breakout, our low of consolidation, now our lower high is formed, and the bulls need to form a higher low compared to 41.05. The range is tightening, and we'll be watching for a key break of this pattern. And the bulls are obviously extremely strong, and this consolidation is very normal and healthy after the move that we did see to the upside. Full-on blue sky breakout, huge gains to be had. Congrats to any bulls that were in before this move. But we are watching to see this tightening pattern, the same thing on Bitcoin's weekly time frame. High, low, lower high has been set. Checking in on LTC USD. And guess what we have? Equilibrium pattern on the daily time frame. Our high is resistance. Our low of consolidation is the key support to be watching. That's down at 890. We then formed a lower high on the bounce attempt. That was up at 1270. And now we have what we call inside bars. And essentially what's going on here on these inside bars, you can see the range of each day is fitting within the range of the previous day for a couple days now. If we were to zoom in on the hourly time frame, this is, you guessed it, equilibrium patterns on the shorter term time frame. The shorter term charts would be showing higher lows and lower highs, constricting ranges, and we are likely to see a clear break in the near term future, and we use the range of the previous day to be looking for a clear break. So let's actually zoom in and look at this on the hourly time frame. So here we go, and just what stands out to me is I'm watching the high right here, the low of the pullback, lower high, higher low, very tight range. The bulls need to see a break of 1140 and 1159 in order to break this lower high pattern on the hourly time frame to favor the bulls. So again, it's very clear that you see these equilibrium patterns all over the place on all kinds of time frames, and they can be indicated by inside bars on the longer term time frames or the clear higher low, lower high pattern on the shorter term time frames. And we'll be watching for a clear break of that hourly chart, and that's either going to indicate, well, on a bullish break that we're heading back up to the recent high of 1270, or on a bearish break of that equilibrium pattern, we'll be looking down at 1055, and then this key level to hold of 890. So we have equilibrium patterns all across the board here on all three of these cryptocurrencies. After the big breakouts to the upside, big bull gains to be had, these are normal healthy consolidation patterns as the market reaches an equilibrium after all of that volatility. I appreciate you watching. We'll continue to check back in on the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency sectors over the weekends, and we'll see you soon.